What is going on, everybody? Justin Lito here with Miles Over Matter, and I thought I would make a video on my current running shoe rotation. This way you kind of got an idea of what I'm currently running in, what I love, what I don't love, and where my subjective taste in running shoes lie, and maybe you start to get an idea of how I gauge a running shoe. That way you could gauge a running shoe for yourself. So let's get into it. All right, we got to start with Asics Gel Nimbus 25. I absolutely love this shoe. I know the new version is out, but from what I hear, it's pretty much the same thing with minor tweaks. So if you could get this on sale, which you can get it on sale almost anywhere, it might just be worth it to grab this. The way I'm using this is as my easy day shoe, my recovery shoe, and kind of like my daily trainer almost. If I just want a nice, comfortable ride, I'm reaching for this almost every time. And, you know, it's hard for me to kind of pick anything else out over that. And I just find myself often going back and back to lace this shoe up. So that is how I'm using the Asics Gel Nimbus 25. Everybody's favorite, a big fan favorite, the Asics Super Blast. So I'm using this as my daily trainer or kind of like my long run shoe. You can, I guess, use it as an easy day recovery shoe, but this midsole, this FF Turbo, I think is on the firmer side. It's got a little bit of give, but it's not the Gel Nimbus. So when I think of an easy day shoe, I'm not picking this over the Gel Nimbus. But if I'm just looking for a daily trainer and I want a little more pep in my step, or if I got a long run, this is almost exclusively my shoe for a long run if I'm not gonna break out like a super trainer. So that's how I've been using this. I do love the shoe. Lately, I haven't been as in love with it, and I'm not sure why that may be, but obviously I'm gonna keep running in it, and yeah, I'm gonna try and see like what's going on. You know, I think over the course of using a running shoe, you start to love it, hate it, or just how it works starts to change a little bit. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this, but right now I'm using the Super Blast as a daily trainer in my long run shoe. All right, we got the Ultra Torrent 7. So I won't lie, I don't use this shoe that much. I'm not a minimalist fanatic. I will say when I'm not running, I'm almost exclusively wearing toe box, flat shoes, you know, the minimalist style shoe. I really enjoy the idea of keeping your foot and shoes as natural as possible, but when it comes to running, I'm not gonna kill myself over that. But as far as the way this has been working, has been exclusively as a daily trainer, but I don't grab for it that often. But I will say it is good to have a shoe with no frills, and you'll see that in some of my other shoes. With everything on the market now and so much going on in a shoe, it's nice to have a shoe where you gotta work for the miles. This foam, the Ego foam, is great. I'm not in love with it, but it does the job and does what it needs to do. And so if you are looking for a zero drop shoe to try and a minimalist style shoe, I think this is great. It's a great option. It's a great entry point. I will say the only thing that I don't love, but it doesn't really bother me too much when I run, but when I'm just walking in the shoe, if you could see here, the heel cup is a little firm and hard, and so sometimes I'll like dig into my ankles a little bit, but it's not too much of an issue. Other than that, besides also an ungusseted tongue, which I don't know why every shoe's tongue isn't gusseted in 2024, but I use this very sporadically as like a daily trainer, and when I know I want to work for some miles. So next up on the list for a tempo shoe is Adidas Boston 12. I won't lie, I don't have too many miles in the shoe yet, but I have been looking for the perfect tempo shoe, and I think this is going to be my shoe of choice. I did one long run in this, decent run. I did a 10-mile run in this at a bunch of different paces, and I found the shoe to be pretty awesome. I'm very excited to continue to keep logging miles in this, but I think as far as like just a purely tempo shoe goes, something that is not too bad at the slower paces, but can also, you know, have the pace picked up a little bit, this is going to be my shoe of choice. Some of the other shoes that I'm going to get into, they can be used as tempo shoes, and I might talk about one as also another potential tempo shoe, but for me, I feel like they work a little better for, you know, repeats. Whereas this, I think this is going to be my new go-to for a tempo shoe, but I still have to log some more miles and get a better gauge on how I feel about this shoe. But for right now, my tempo shoe, my go-to is the Adidas Boston 12. All right, next up, we're going to go with a favorite of mine, and I know this has a lot of mixed reviews, but I love this shoe. And we got the Nike Street Fly. So the way I've been using this is for mainly like repeats and intervals, and kind of just that like real quick peppy shoe. I can use this as a tempo shoe, but when I'm really just trying to go fast, this shoe is so light and I love this thing. And I know not a lot of people love it, but to each his own. I know if you want something with a little more cushion, this might not be the shoe for you, but for me, again, kind of talking about what I was talking about with the Ultras, is there's not a lot going on in this shoe in terms of, you know, mechanics, what's put into it. It's pretty much bare bones. I mean, you got the shank in the middle that keeps it from bending, but as far as that goes, I feel like you're kind of running through a more natural running stride, and the toe box is generous. I have a wider foot, so I prefer, you know, a little bit of a wider toe box. Whereas the Adidas Takumi Sen 9, I only have so far one run in this shoe specifically. I have ran in the 8 for a couple runs, and I don't know how I feel about this shoe yet. I know some people love it, but I find it super uncomfortable at slower paces for like warming up. Actually like really uncomfortable. But then when you start to pick up the pace, it does feel nice, but I do need some more runs in it to get a better gauge of where this stands. I will say, I absolutely love this tongue. I've never been more obsessed with the tongue. Maybe it's just because it's got this rubber on the inside and really like suction cups to the top of your ankle. But if it's coming between the two, I'm probably picking the Street Fly. The durability is questionable, and I know people have said it doesn't get too many miles on it, but you can get it for under like $70. I think I got this slightly used for 50 or 60 bucks. I mean, it's worth every penny. So right now, intervals and tempos, I'm going with the Nike Street Fly. All right, so next up, I think the way I'm going to work this category is like 5K, 10K racer, or those days in training where I want something aggressive and I want that extra edge in my training, that extra pep in the step. So I have Nike Vaporfly 2 and the Vaporfly 3. As far as the Vaporfly 2 goes, I love this shoe. I probably wouldn't take it for more than 10K distance. I start to find it a little aggressive after that. I mean, obviously people have been using this for the marathon, but me personally, It starts to feel a little much after like that 6 to 8 mile range, and the way I want to use this is really maybe like my 5K, 10K racer, or like I said, those training days when I want to try and like dip into 5th and 6th gear. As far as the Vaporfly 3 goes, I still am trying to test this out a bit. Where I feel like these shoes differ is in the cushioning, but what I've noticed is with the Vaporfly 3, so when the shoe compresses, rather than with the 2, it compresses and then you feel like you're on the plate or you're just like feeling the ground. I feel like with the 3, it compresses and then there's almost about a couple millimeters of foam that can't be compressed through. So it's like you compress and then you're left with just a little layer of foam, which is really nice. It doesn't feel as aggressive and harsh, which some may not love. But I am curious, I do want to take this out for a half or potentially even up to the full marathon distance. And I want to give this shoe an honest shot at those distances because the last longer run I've had in this, it felt good. It felt really good. Whereas the 1 or 2 runs before, I was dealing with an injury and it just wasn't working for me at the time. So I still have yet to give this an honest try. But again, the way I've been using the Vaporfly 3 and the 2 is for those training days where I just want a little extra edge and a little extra pep in my step. And for my race day marathon shoe, right now at the moment is the Adidas Pro 3. There's my time, 3:34:01 Philadelphia Marathon. I ran in these shoes specifically. I won't use these for another marathon, at least a serious marathon, but I'll continue to log some long runs in these when I want to kind of pick up the pace a bit. But if I'm just want to log a long run, I'm going to go to my Super Blast. But I don't know. I'm having a love-hate relationship with these shoes. On one hand, I love the roll through. I love the ride of these. I think the Lightstrike Pro is so comfortable and I'm obsessed with these shoes. On the other hand, where everybody has their issues is with the upper. I've never had the issue where the metal piece going over the big toe seems to irritate people. I've felt it here and there, but it's went away pretty fast. Where I have the issue, and it's weird because I didn't have the issue until my marathon, until I used these for Philadelphia Marathon. But during the marathon, if you could see, I put some Leukotape back here, but this spot on the left shoe just rubbed through my sock, so it tore a hole in my sock, whereas on my right foot, tore a hole through my sock and tore a hole through my Achilles, and there is blood all over that shoe. And it was weird because I never had that issue leading up to the marathon. So I'm not sure what is going on. It is a little rough back here. They do have the padding in here, but in here is kind of bare bones and a lot of the stitching is there. So I did just take these out for a run today actually. They felt good. By the time it's time to run another marathon, I'm hoping that the 4 will come out with a different upper, or maybe they rework the shoe altogether, but I think that's going to be a while. But I was lucky enough to get my hands on a pair of the Alphafly 3s. And so I have yet to take these out. I think I will take them out for my first long run of 10 miles this weekend. I will do a shoe review video about them after I logged some miles. But these could be a new marathon contender or the Vaporfly 3. So there's still a lot to be discovered with this shoe, with the Vaporfly 3, the potential. If I could get this to work a little more efficiently and figure out what's going on, I do love this shoe. I do think it is absolutely great. kind of just take through your miles. And because of this aggressive rocker right here, the way I land, I'm a 4-foot striker, it just keeps me going and going. I will say, this is not the most stable shoe if you don't have good running form, so keep that in mind. But I'm going to continue to kind of log miles and reassess, and I still have a while before it is time to make a decision on my next marathon shoe. I have high hopes for this. Hopefully this gets the job done and everything works out and I don't have any issues. There's no arch pain and I love it. So that is my current running shoe rotation. I hope it has helped. I hope that you got some ideas from it. Any questions, comments, concern, you could drop it down below. And until then, much love.